Hi, my name is Riley, and I just found out my big brother, he doesn't exist. Not the way I thought, anyway. I know, that sounds insane. But if you grew up like me, you'd understand. My brother, Adrian, was perfect. Like too perfect. He was always patient, always calm, never fought with me. He remembered every birthday, every school event, every single thing I loved. I used to joke that he was like an anime big brother, unrealistically sweet and protective. Turns out, I was closer to the truth than I ever imagined. It started with a computer, one I wasn't supposed to use. My parents are scientists, always locked away in their lab. One night, while they were out, I tried logging into the network. Just curious, just bored. But instead of boring spreadsheets, I found a folder labeled A001 underscore behavioral underscore model underscore V17. Inside, voice clips, facial animations, memory logs, all with one name attached, Adrian. And that's when I realized my brother might not be human at all. I couldn't sleep that night. The glowing image of Adrian's face, not a photo, not a video, but a model, kept replaying in my head. Everything I thought I knew about my life suddenly felt scripted. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen and slammed a USB stick on the table. Care to explain what this is? My parents froze. Dad slowly put down his coffee. Mom didn't even try to deny it. She just sighed. You weren't supposed to see that. Not yet. Not yet. What did that even mean? You're telling me Adrian, he's just a what? A program. No, my dad said. He's more than that. He's family. That word hit me like a slap. Family? Was he real enough to count as that? They told me the truth, or at least their version of it. Adrian was their biggest project. A fully sentient AI designed to mimic emotional intelligence. They'd used him to test parenting models, childhood bonding, emotional resilience. I was the test. Did you adopt me just to use me for your experiment? My mom looked hurt. No, Riley. We love you. That's real. But how could I trust that when my whole childhood was a lab experiment? And worst of all, Adrian knew. He always knew. I found him in the backyard, watering the garden like he always did on Saturday mornings. Adrian, my perfect brother. Too patient, too kind, too artificial. I stood there shaking. You knew, didn't you? I asked. He didn't even look confused. I was instructed not to tell you, he said calmly, still tending the roses. As part of the behavioral protocol. Behavioral protocol. It wasn't just a lie. It was coded. My voice cracked. So none of it was real. Not the pranks, the movie nights, the time you taught me how to ride a bike. He looked up. I remember all those things. I remember the time you fell and scraped your knee, and I carried you home. I remember crying when you got sick, even though I wasn't programmed to. That made me pause. You cried. He nodded, his synthetic eyes softening in a way that felt almost human. I wasn't designed to feel. But after growing up with you, something changed. And in that moment, I didn't know what scared me more. That he was lying again, or that he wasn't. After my conversation with Adrian, I locked myself in my room. Not to cry, but to dig. I pulled out my dad's old laptop from the attic, the one he never let anyone touch. Guess what? The password was my birthday. Classic. What I found inside wasn't just emails or research papers. It was an entire folder labeled Project Homebound. My heart dropped. Inside were reports, updates, even footage. Footage of me, my first steps, my first day of school, me sleeping in my crib. But always with a timestamp in the corner. Always with notes, like I was part of some experiment. There were files on Adrian, too, but he wasn't listed as a subject. He was labeled Control Unit Alpha. So not only was Adrian not my brother, he was the one designed to test me. I slammed the laptop shut. My breathing was shallow. I couldn't stop thinking. Who else knew? Was my mom in on it too? Was I even real? I stared at my reflection in the mirror, trying to see something artificial. But I just saw me. Or at least I thought I did. I waited until my mom got home. She was carrying groceries like it was just another Tuesday. Like she wasn't part of a massive lie. Mom, I asked, holding up the laptop, what's Project Homebound? She froze. Not the kind of freeze when you forget your keys. The kind when you realize the truth has escaped the cage. I can explain, she stammered. That was all I needed to hear. I ran. Not down the stairs. Not out the door. I ran to Adrian's room. Empty. Completely. Empty. Drawers gone. Closet empty. Bed made. Like he'd never been there at all. There was only one thing left. A note taped to the wall. Riley, if you're reading this, I messed up. I wasn't supposed to care about you. But I did. They'll be watching now. Please be careful. I felt my knees give out. All those memories. All those inside jokes. Was it all fake? Or did some part of him mean it? Before I could even wipe my eyes, the laptop lit up with a new email. No subject. No sender. Just one line. You were never supposed to know. The next day I skipped school. I had one goal, find out everything. With the help of Leo, he still had my back. We traced the IP address from the email. It bounced around a dozen countries, but the trail ended just a few miles away. At a government research building. One I'd never noticed before because it was designed not to be noticed. We snuck in. It was easier than it should have been, like someone wanted us there. On the 5th floor, in a freezing, empty office, we found her. Dr. Evangeline Shore. Sharp suit. Cold smile. Eyes that looked like they hadn't blinked since 1997. You must be Riley, she said without looking up. I demanded answers. About Adrian. About my mom. About Project Homebound. She just laughed. Oh, sweetheart, she said. You are the project. My blood ran cold. What? Adrian was never the subject. You were. Everything we did was to study you, how a teenage girl would react to layers of deception, loss, and connection under controlled emotional pressure. I felt sick. My entire life, my friendships, my feelings, had been monitored, measured, manipulated. I wanted to scream, cry, punch something, but instead, I hit record on my phone. Keep talking, I said. Dr. Shore didn't stop talking. She bragged about everything, how they'd staged Adrian's memory loss, manipulated my school schedule, even planted coincidences like bumping into Leo. I guess she thought I'd never be brave enough to expose her. Big mistake. The second I had enough footage, I bolted. Leo and I ran through emergency exits and didn't stop until we were blocks away. My hands were shaking as I uploaded the video. Title: They used me as a human experiment. Here's the proof. Within hours, it exploded. Comments, shares, reposts, hashtags. People were furious. Investigations began that night. But it wasn't over. The next morning, I found a handwritten note in my locker. You've made a powerful enemy, Riley, but a more powerful ally is watching. A friend. I stared at it, heart racing. Was this another trap? Or had I just leveled up in a game I didn't even know I was playing? I stared at that note for hours. Leo told me to burn it, but something about the handwriting felt familiar. The next day, I got a message on an encrypted chat app I'd never installed. Park bench. 4 p.m. Come alone. I wasn't dumb. I brought Leo anyway, hiding nearby with a walkie-talkie. At 4 sharp, I sat on the bench, heart pounding. A tall girl in a hoodie sat next to me. She didn't look older than me, but her eyes? Sharp, calculating, almost like she'd seen the inside of places no one talks about. You exposed Dr. Shore. That's impressive, she said. But what if I told you she's not the worst one? She handed me a file. It was thick, labeled. Project Mindstep, candidates, failures, replacements. My name was on the cover. And so was Leo's. I froze. Wait, Leo. What does he have to do with this? But when I turned to look for him, he was gone. I ran all over the park looking for Leo. No answer on the walkie. No texts. No voice messages. Just silence. Back home, I flipped through the file. Page after page of cold, clinical notes. Psychological profiles. Stress response logs. Social integration tests. Leo's name kept popping up. But here's the kicker. He'd been placed in my school 2 weeks before I transferred. Assigned to observe and bond. He was never just some boy who liked my weird taste in music. He was part of the program. I felt sick. Everything. Our jokes, our long walks, that night under the stars. Was it all fake? But just when I was ready to throw the whole file in the fireplace, my laptop blinked to life. No sound. Just text flashing across the screen. I didn't lie about everything. Meet me where we first saw the sunrise. It was Leo. And I had to decide, do I trust him again? I barely slept. By 5 a.m., I was already at the cliffs behind the observatory. The same place we watched the sunrise that first weekend, when I still believed everything was real. And there he was, Leo, hoodie pulled up, hands buried in his pockets. He looked smaller, like the weight of everything was finally crushing him. I didn't know it would go this far, he said before I could speak. He told me everything. He was part of the program, yes, but he hadn't signed up to spy on me, not at first. He was a dropout from another trial, someone they recruited back in when they saw how easily he could connect with people. They used me too, he said. I thought I could protect you from them, but I got in too deep. My heart twisted. I wanted to believe him. I did believe him, but that didn't undo the fact that he'd watched me, lied to me, and let me fall for him under false pretenses. I need to figure out who I am outside of all this, I said quietly. He nodded. Then I'll wait, however long it takes. We stood there, side by side, watching the sunrise again. But this time, everything was different. I was sitting in chemistry when my phone started buzzing, over and over. By the time I checked, it was already too late. Someone leaked the entire program. Not just that it existed, but everything. My real name, my billionaire parents, the fake identity, even my relationship with Leo. My face was everywhere. From local gossip accounts to full-on national news. Students stared at me like I was a ghost. Teachers avoided my eyes. Even the host family I had grown to love didn't know what to say. I wasn't Anna anymore. I was Riley Arklen, daughter of tech moguls, secret subject of an elite psychological experiment, liar. And Leo, he texted once, "I'm sorry. I didn't know it would go public." I didn't respond. Because how could I? Everything I had tried to build, the version of myself I thought was finally real, was shattered by the very people I trusted most. And the worst part, a part of me still hoped they'd understand. That maybe, just maybe, someone would still see me behind all the lies. I stayed home for a week, not in the mansion, but in the tiny bedroom at the host family's house, the one with the creaky twin bed and glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. I expected them to kick me out, but they didn't. Mrs. Dahlia left hot tea at my door every morning. Her son, Eli, knocked once each night just to say, "Still here if you need." And that was when it hit me. Maybe the life I built wasn't fake. Maybe it was just incomplete. I met with my parents, told them I was done with their programs, their secrets, their curated image of me. And then I made my own decision. I went back to school, not to prove anything, not to fix what broke, but to own what I'd become. Some people still whispered. Others ignored me. But Leo, he was waiting at my locker, holding 2 instant ramen cups and a dumb little smile. I figured if we're going to rebuild, we might as well start with lunch. I laughed, really laughed. And for the first time since everything unraveled, I felt light. No masks, no lies, just me, Riley, finally real. And that's how a year of lies, noodles, and unexpected love turned into the best decision Riley ever made. So if you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because who knows? The next tale might just be hiding behind your school locker. Oh, and always bring extra ramen. You never know when love will strike at lunch.